I deal in load-bearing walls. That's my job. I'm a structural engineer, which sounds impressive at parties until people realize it mostly means I stare at blueprints and tell architects why their beautiful, floating glass staircases will eventually kill someone. I look for stress fractures. I calculate tension. I predict exactly how much weight a beam can hold before it snaps. My name is Grant. I'm 32 years old, and for most of my life, I have been the load-bearing wall of my family. You know the type. I'm the one who remembers birthdays. I'm the one who drives 45 minutes to jumpstart my dad's truck because he left the lights on again. I'm the one who co-signed my mom's cell phone plan because her credit score is lower than the temperature in a deep freeze. I'm the utility player. Necessary, boring, always there. Then there's Kinsley. My sister is 25, and she is what you'd call a facade. In architecture, the facade is the pretty front of the building that hides the cheap insulation and the rusting pipes. Kinsley is flashy. She's loud. She describes herself as a digital creator and a visionary, which mostly means she takes photos of her latte foam and waits for an audience to applaud. And my parents? Howard and Brenda. They are the audience. They have been clapping for 25 years. I learned the difference between us when I was 16. I had spent 2 summers mowing lawns, literally pushing a mower until my hands were blistered and my shirt was soaked with sweat, saving up for a truck. I had my eye on this beat-up Ford Ranger. It was ugly, it smelled like wet dog, but it was going to be mine. I had $3,000 in a coffee can in my closet. 2 days before I was going to buy it, I came home from school and the can was empty. My dad, Howard, was sitting at the kitchen table. He didn't even look up from his newspaper. "Don't make a scene, Grant," he said, before I could even scream. Kinsley made the regional dance finals. The entry fees and the costumes are expensive. We needed the cash. That was for my truck, I choked out. He finally looked at me, his eyes hard. "A truck is a want, Grant. Your sister's talent is an investment. Don't be selfish. We're a family. We pool our resources." I never got the truck. I drove Mom's minivan until I graduated. And Kinsley? She quit dance 3 weeks later because the instructor didn't understand her energy. My $3,000 didn't buy a trophy. It bought 3 weeks of her playing dress-up. That was the lesson. I am the resource pool. Kinsley is the investment. That's why this house, my house, means so much to me. It's a 1920s Craftsman on the edge of town. When I bought it, the inspector gave me a list of repairs 3 pages long. The roof had a leak, the porch sagged, and the hardwood floors were buried under 3 layers of shag carpet that smelled like 1978. But I saw the bones. The framing was solid oak. The foundation was poured concrete, no cracks. It was strong. It just needed someone to care about the structure, not just the surface. I closed on the house 2 months ago. I didn't ask my dad for a loan. I didn't ask my mom to co-sign. I ate ramen and worked overtime for 5 years to save the down payment. When the title company handed me the keys, I sat in the empty living room and just breathed. It was the first time in my life I owned something that Howard couldn't raid for Kinsley's next big thing. It was a boundary. Physical, legal, lockable. I spent every weekend for 8 weeks restoring it. I sanded those floors on my hands and knees until my back seized up. I painted the walls a calm, slate gray. I fixed the porch swing so it wouldn't groan when you sat on it. I wanted it perfect. Not for me. I mean, sure, for me. But deep down, I wanted it perfect for them. I wanted to invite them over for a housewarming and finally hear my dad say, "Good job, son. You built something solid." I wanted to prove that the load-bearing wall was worth looking at, not just leaning on. Last Monday, I sent the text to the family group chat. I attached a photo of the newly painted front door. Keys are in hand. The place is finally ready. Housewarming barbecue this Saturday at 5 p.m. Nana June is coming. I'm making steaks. I watched the bubbles on the screen. Kinsley replied first, just a sparkles emoji. No words. No, congrats. Just sparkles. Then Mom, we'll try, honey. It's been such a busy week with Kinsley's brand launch prep. Dad? He left it on read. I told myself that was fine. Howard isn't a texter. He's a show up and critique the wiring kind of guy. I convinced myself that was his love language. So, I went all out. I went to the butcher shop, not the grocery store, the actual butcher, and bought 4 thick ribeyes. $30 a pop. I bought a case of the craft IPA Howard likes, the stuff that tastes like pine needles and costs $12 a 6-pack. I bought a bottle of Sauvignon Blanc for Kinsley because I know she likes the label with the gold foil. I set the table on the back patio. 4 chairs. Plus one for Nana June, my grandmother, who insisted on taking an Uber because she didn't want to rely on your father's driving. I mowed the lawn in diagonal stripes. I wiped down the counters 3 times. I even put out guest towels in the bathroom, the fancy ones I'm not allowed to touch. At 4:45 p.m. on Saturday, I lit the grill. The charcoal smelled like summer. I stood on my back porch, looking at the yard I owned, holding a beer I bought with my own money, and I let myself feel a little bit of pride. I had built a life. A solid one. I checked my watch. 4:55 p.m. They'll be here, I whispered to the empty yard. They wouldn't miss this. At 5 p.m. exactly, a car pulled up. My heart jumped, but it was just a silver sedan. Nana June. She walked up the driveway with her cane, holding a Tupperware container of her famous potato salad. She looked at the empty driveway, then at me. Her eyes are sharp, Nana June. She sees things. Where is the circus? She asked, kissing my cheek. Probably traffic, I said, taking the salad. You know how Dad drives. He probably took a shortcut that adds 20 minutes. We sat on the patio. I opened a beer for myself and poured Nana an iced tea. The charcoal was gray and hot, ready for the steaks. 5:15 p.m. I checked my phone. Nothing. 5:30 p.m. The coals were starting to burn down. I texted the group chat, grill is hot. ETA. Silence. 5:45 p.m. The sun began to dip below the fence line, casting long, stretching shadows across the yard. The condensation on the craft beer bottles had pooled onto the table, leaving wet rings on the wood I had just stained. Grant, Nana said softly. Put the steaks on. Just for us. I'll wait a bit longer, I said, my voice sounding tight in my own ears. They probably just got held up. Kinsley is always late. Honey, Nana said, reaching across the table to touch my hand. Her skin was paper thin, but her grip was strong. Stop waiting for people who are chasing shiny things. They aren't stuck in traffic. I pulled my hand away gently. You don't know that. I know my son, she said, referring to Howard. And I know his wife. And I certainly know that granddaughter of mine. If they were coming, they would be here to tell you how to cook the meat. I laughed, but it was a dry, brittle sound. She was right. The silence in the backyard wasn't peaceful anymore. It was heavy. It was the sound of being forgotten. At 6 p.m., I walked into the kitchen and threw the $30 steaks into the fridge. I didn't have the heart to grill them. I heated up a can of chili for Nana and made myself a sandwich. We ate at the kitchen counter, the dining table outside sitting perfectly set for ghosts. We were finishing our humble dinner when my phone buzzed on the counter. It wasn't a text. It was an Instagram notification. Kinsley_vibes is live, biggest surprise ever. My stomach dropped. I tapped the screen. The video filled the frame. Bright, fluorescent lights. Polished white tile floors. The unmistakable interior of a luxury car dealership. Kinsley was front and center, holding a phone attached to a selfie stick. She was wearing sunglasses indoors. Behind her was a white Porsche Macan with a giant red bow on the hood. "Guys," she shrieked into the camera. "I am literally shaking right now. Look at this baby. Daddy said I needed a car that matches my vibe for the brand launch." She panned the camera. There was my mom, Brenda, wiping tears from her eyes. She worked so hard for this. Mom sobbed, as if Kinsley had cured a disease instead of posting 3 TikToks a week. And then, there was Howard. My dad. He was shaking the salesman's hand, puffing out his chest, looking like he had just merged a Fortune 500 company. He looked proud. He looked engaged. He looked like a father who showed up. I stared at the screen. A Porsche. A Macan. That's a $60,000 car, easy. I know for a fact Howard has a second mortgage on their house. I know Mom puts groceries on credit cards. It's a lease, I said out loud, spotting the paperwork on the desk in the background of the video. They're leasing it. Of course they are, Nana June muttered, looking over my shoulder. Buying champagne on a beer budget. Always have. I felt cold. Not angry. Just cold. They weren't in traffic. They weren't in an accident. They were 40 minutes away, signing a lease on a luxury car for my unemployed sister, while I sat here with cold charcoal and empty chairs. My phone rang in my hand. The screen said, "Dad." I stared at it for a full 5 seconds. A part of me, the stupid, child part of me, thought maybe he was calling to apologize. Maybe he realized the time. I answered. "Hello? Grant." Howard's voice was booming. I could hear the dealership noise in the background, people clapping, an engine revving. "We're wrapping up here. Listen, we need to come by tomorrow morning. Early." "You missed the housewarming," I said. My voice was flat. "What? Oh, yeah. Sorry. Time got away from us. This deal took forever to negotiate." He didn't sound sorry. He sounded annoyed that I brought it up. "Anyway, forget the barbecue. We need to talk business. Have your property documents ready. The deed, the mortgage info, everything." I blinked. "My property documents? Why?" "We need to restructure some things for Kinsley's insurance and credit profile," Howard said, his voice taking on that "I'm the patriarch" tone. "The lease requires a stronger asset base for the cosigner. We'll explain when we get there. Be ready at 8 a.m. And have coffee made." "Dad, Stop whining, Grant. This is a family asset strategy." 8 a.m. Click. He hung up. I stood in my kitchen, the silence of the house pressing in on me. The family asset strategy. Nana June looked at me. "What did he want?" "He wants my deed," I said, the realization slowly hardening like concrete in my gut. "He wants to use my house to back Kinsley's car." I didn't sleep. I spent the night sitting in the dark living room, listening to the house settle. I heard the wind rattle the loose pane in the attic I hadn't fixed yet. I heard the refrigerator hum. For the first time, I didn't feel like the owner. I felt like a squatter waiting for the landlord to kick me out. Sunday morning arrived with a violent honk. It was 7:50 a.m. They were early. I looked out the window. The white Porsche Macan was parked sideways in my driveway, blocking my truck. Kinsley hopped out, wearing a matching pink tracksuit, phone already in hand, filming the exterior of my house. Howard's truck pulled in behind her. He marched up the walkway carrying a thick leather folder. Mom trailed behind him, carrying a bag of bagels, looking like she was arriving for a fun family brunch. I opened the door before they could ring the bell. Surprise! Mom chirped, trying to hug me. I stepped back. Her arms hit air. Coffee? Howard barked, brushing past me into the living room. He didn't wipe his boots. He tracked mud onto the floor I had sanded by hand. Shoes, I said. He ignored me. Kitchen table. Let's go. They swarmed my house. It felt like an invasion. Kinsley didn't even say hello. She walked straight past me, wrinkling her nose. Ugh, it smells like wood in here. And old people. It smells like oak, I said. Because it's real wood. Whatever, she said, wandering down the hall. Where's the second bedroom? I need to check the natural light. Why? I asked, following them into the kitchen. Mom started unloading bagels onto my counter, moving my coffee maker to the side. Oh, honey, this layout is a bit cramped, isn't it? We might need to knock down this wall to open up the chi. Don't touch the wall, I said, my voice rising. That's a load-bearing wall, Mom. You knock that down, the roof collapses. So dramatic, she sighed. Howard sat at the head of my table, and slammed the leather folder down. Sit down, Grant. Let's get this sorted so we can celebrate. I didn't sit. I leaned against the counter, crossing my arms. Celebrate what? The car you can't afford. Howard's face reddened. Watch your tone. That car is a necessary tool for your sister's career. Her career, I repeated. Right. The career that changes every 6 months. Last year she was a DJ. The year before that she made vegan dog treats. Now she's an influencer. I am a brand, Kinsley shouted from the hallway. She appeared in the kitchen doorway, holding her phone up. And brands need to project success, Grant. You wouldn't understand. You work in dirt. I work in structural engineering, I corrected. Same thing, she sniffed. Howard unzipped the folder. He pulled out a document. It wasn't a napkin with notes on it. It was a formal legal document. I saw the words at the top, quitclaim deed. My blood ran cold. Here's the situation, Howard said, tapping the paper with a thick finger. The lease on the Porsche is high. The insurance is astronomical because of Kinsley's driving history. I hit one mailbox. Kinsley protested. 3 mailboxes and a fire hydrant, Howard corrected, but his tone was gentle, like he was talking to a toddler. He turned back to me, his eyes hardening. To get the financing approved and the insurance down to a livable number, we need to show more assets. My credit is tapped out with the mortgage on our house. He pushed the paper toward me. We need you to add Kinsley to the title of this house, he said. Just like that. Like he was asking for salt. As a tenant in common. It's a 50-50 split on paper. It boosts her net worth instantly. The bank sees she owns real estate, her rate drops, everyone wins. I stared at the paper. You want me to give her half my house? It's just on paper. Mom chimed in, smiling nervously. It doesn't mean she actually owns it, Grant. It's just a formality. To help the family. You know we'd do it for you. No, you wouldn't, I said. You stole my truck money when I was 16. That was ages ago. Howard snapped. Let it go. Look, Grant, you're single. You have this whole house, all this equity sitting here doing nothing. It's selfish to hoard it when your sister is trying to launch her life. Hoard it. I laughed. It was a dark, dangerous laugh. I built this. I paid for it. Every cent. And who raised you? Howard countered. Who put clothes on your back? This is what families do. We leverage each other's strengths. My strength is my credit score, I said. Her strength is spending money she doesn't have. Dad, hurry up, Kinsley whined, scrolling on her phone. The lighting in the guest room is actually perfect for my unboxing video. I need to start setting up my studio there. Can we move Grant's desk out? It's ugly. I froze. Studio? I looked at Howard. Howard shifted in his chair. He didn't meet my eyes. Well, since she's going to be on the deed, it makes sense for her to utilize the space. She can't pay rent on her apartment and the car note. She'll move into the second bedroom for a few months. Just until the brand takes off. The Trojan horse. They weren't just after my equity. They were moving her in. They wanted me to sign over half my house and then live with the person who was draining me dry. They wanted me to pay the mortgage while she parked her Porsche in my driveway and filmed TikToks in the room I planned to use as an office. So, I said, my voice shaking with rage. You missed my housewarming to get a car. And now you're here to take the house. We are here to help you manage your assets. Howard shouted, slamming his hand on the table. Sign the damn paper, Grant. Be a man. Take care of your sister. Something snapped inside me. But it wasn't a loud snap. It was the quiet, terrifying sound of a cable parting under too much tension. I went into work mode. When a building is condemned, you don't argue with it. You don't yell at the bricks. You evacuate the premises. I walked over to the table. I picked up the quitclaim deed. Grant, good, Howard said, relaxing. Do you have a pen? I looked him dead in the eye. And I tore the document in half. The sound of the ripping paper was loud in the quiet kitchen. Grant! Mom screamed. I tore it again. And again. Until it was confetti. I let the pieces fall onto the bagels. Get out, I said. My voice wasn't loud. It was absolute. Excuse me. Kinsley laughed, like it was a joke. Get out of my house, I said. Take your leased car. Take your fake brand. Take your audacity. And get off my property. Howard stood up, his face turning purple. You listen to me, boy. I am your father. You don't talk to me like that. You owe us. I don't owe you a damn thing, I stepped closer to him. I'm 6'2". Howard is 5'9". For the first time, I used that height. I paid for this house. My name is on the deed. Mine alone. And it stays that way. You're making a mistake, Howard spat. You cut us out, you're on your own. No family. No support. I've been on my own since I was 16, Howard, I said. I'm just making it official. I walked to the front door and threw it open. Leave. Now. Or I call the police and report trespassers. And I will tow that Porsche before it hits the asphalt. Kinsley looked scared now. She saw the look on my face. She scurried out the door, clutching her phone. Mom followed, crying loudly, "How can you be so cruel? We're family." Howard stopped in the doorway. He looked at me with pure hate. You're a selfish, ungrateful little. Goodbye, Dad, I said. I slammed the door in his face. I threw the deadbolt. Then the latch. I stood there, listening to them screaming in the driveway. I heard the Porsche rev aggressively. I heard Howard's truck tires spin on the gravel. And then, silence. I walked back into the kitchen, swept the torn paper and the bagels into the trash, and finally, for the first time, I poured myself a cup of coffee in my own house. I thought kicking them out was the end of it. I was wrong. It was just the declaration of war. By Monday morning, the smear campaign had begun. I woke up to 20 missed calls from relatives I hadn't spoken to in years. Aunt Linda, Cousin Steve, people who didn't even know where I worked, were suddenly leaving voicemails calling me a monster. I checked Facebook. Big mistake. Kinsley had posted a storytime video. She didn't name me, but she didn't have to. The title was, Toxic Family Alert, my brother tried to sabotage my success because he's jealous of my shine. In the video, she claimed I had invited them over just to scream at them. She claimed I had promised to help her with the car and then pulled the rug out to humiliate her. She cried, fake, dry tears, wiping her eyes carefully so she wouldn't smudge her mascara. He literally threw us out on the street, she sobbed. I just wanted to bond with him. I wanted to share my success. But some men can't handle a powerful woman. The comments were brutal. Cut him off, Queen. He sounds like a narcissist. Don't let his negative energy dim your light. Mom was playing the martyr. She posted a picture of an empty bird nest with the caption, "A mother's heart breaks when her children turn their backs on the nest. Prayers needed." I didn't respond. I didn't comment. I didn't defend myself. I knew that engaging with them was like wrestling a pig in mud. You both get dirty, but the pig likes it. Instead, I blocked them. All of them. Mom, Dad, Kinsley, Aunt Linda, Cousin Steve. I blocked their numbers. I blocked their social media. I went digital ghost. Then, I focused on the physical structure. I treated my house like a secure facility. I spent Monday evening installing smart locks on every door. No more keys that could be copied or borrowed. My doors now opened only with my fingerprint or a code that I changed daily. I installed Ring cameras at the front door, the back door, and the driveway. I called the 3 major credit bureaus and froze my credit. I put a pin on everything. Then, I went to the county clerk's office. I filed a fraud alert on my property title. This meant that if anyone, say, a desperate father with a leather folder, tried to file a quitclaim deed with a forged signature, the clerk was required to call me and verify it in person with ID. Family trouble? The clerk asked as she stamped my form. You have no idea, I said. On Wednesday, the Trojan horse returned. I was at work, reviewing a blueprint for a parking garage, when my phone buzzed. A text from a number I didn't recognize. Grant, it's Mom. I'm borrowing Aunt Linda's phone since you blocked me, very immature, by the way. Listen, I left my favorite silk scarf at your place on Sunday. It was a gift from your grandmother. I'm in the neighborhood. Just leave the spare key under the mat, I'll run in and grab it. Love you. I stared at the phone. There was no scarf. I had cleaned the house. There was nothing left of them but bad vibes. Nice try, I muttered. I didn't reply. But 10 minutes later, my Ring app notified me, motion detected at front door. I opened the live feed. There was Mom's SUV. And Kinsley's Porsche. They walked up to the porch. Mom was looking around nervously. Kinsley was carrying a box, not a small box for a scarf, but a large moving box labeled studio lighting. They went straight for the doormat. Mom lifted it up. Nothing. He didn't leave it, Mom said, her voice clear on the camera's microphone. Try the code, Kinsley said. Try his birthday. Mom punched numbers into my keypad. Beep beep beep. Buzz. Red light. Try 1-2-3-4, Kinsley suggested. He's an engineer, Kinsley, he's not an idiot, Mom snapped. She tried another code. Maybe the year I graduated. Buzz. Kinsley kicked the door. This is ridiculous. I have a brand deal due on Friday. I need that room. We'll call a locksmith, Mom said, reaching for her phone. I pressed the talk button on my app. My voice boomed out of the doorbell speaker, startling them both. Get away from my door. Mom jumped 3 feet in the air. Kinsley dropped her box. Grant? Mom looked at the doorbell, squinting. Grant, honey, open up. We just need to. I am recording this, I said, my voice calm and metallic through the speaker. You are trespassing. If you are not off my property in 60 seconds, I am sending this video to the police. And Kinsley, if you kick my door again, I will sue you for damages. You wouldn't dare. Kinsley screamed at the camera. Try me, I said. 59, 58. Mom grabbed Kinsley's arm. Come on. Let's go. He's crazy. He's selfish. Kinsley shrieked, flipping off the camera. They dragged the box back to the car. I watched them peel out of the driveway. I saved the video. I named the file evidence_1.mp4. I knew Howard. I knew that shame was the only weapon that worked on him. I called my buddy Mark, a lawyer I went to college with. I sent him the ring footage. I sent him the text messages. I told him about the deed. Write it up, I said. On Friday, a courier delivered a formal cease and desist letter to my parents' house. It outlined everything: the trespassing, the attempted fraud with the deed, the harassment. It stated clearly that any further attempts to contact me or access my property would result in a restraining order and a lawsuit. It was the nuclear option. But with a load-bearing wall, if the foundation is rotten, you don't patch it. You cut it out. The effect was instant. The flying monkeys stopped calling. The text stopped. Kinsley deleted her storytime video, probably because Mark's letter mentioned defamation. The silence that followed wasn't heavy like the silence at the barbecue. It was clean. It was the silence of a structure that was finally stable. 1 month later. My house was finally finished. I had bought a rug for the living room, a nice one, not a hand-me-down. The guest room was no longer a guest room. I had turned it into a home office and gym. My blueprints were spread out on a large oak desk. There was no ring light. No pink decor. Just my space. I decided to try again. I sent out a new invite. Smaller this time. Pizza and beer on the porch. Saturday at 6. I invited Nana June. I invited Mark. And I invited Mr. Kowalski, my next-door neighbor, an old retired plumber who had lent me his ladder when I was painting the eaves and told me, "You're doing good work, kid." At 6 p.m., they were all there. We didn't sit at the fancy dining table. We sat on the porch swing and the steps. Mr. Kowalski brought a housewarming gift, a small potted snake plant. "These things are impossible to kill," he grunted, handing it to me. "Roots take time, son. But once they hold, they hold." "Thanks, Mr. Kowalski," I said. We ate pizza. We drank beer. We laughed about Mark's dating life. Nana June told stories about her wild youth in the 60s. Nobody asked me for money. Nobody asked me to sign a document. Nobody made me feel like an appliance. I sat on the swing, listening to the hum of conversation. I looked out at the lemon tree I had planted in the front yard. It was small, but it was growing. I pulled out my phone one last time. I went to Kinsley's Instagram. She had posted a photo of herself in the Porsche, but I noticed the location tag wasn't a trendy club. It was the driveway of her friend's apartment complex. The caption read, "Sometimes you have to cut out toxic people to grow. #new beginnings #hustle." I noticed a new comment from Howard, "So proud of you, sweetie. We'll figure out the payment next month." I smiled. Not a bitter smile. A free smile. I tapped the button, unfollow. Then I put the phone in my pocket and grabbed another slice of pizza. My house isn't empty. It's fortified. It's mine. And for the first time in 32 years, the foundation isn't cracking under the weight of someone else's expectations. So, am I the jerk for tearing up the deed and refusing to invest in my sister's influencer career? Or did I just save myself from bankruptcy? If you enjoyed this story, please smash that like button and subscribe to the channel for more. Let me know in the comments if you would have given Kinsley a key. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.